Alrighty, so we are heading towards the end of the semester, finished up the Civil War. Now we're going to move on to Reconstruction. So time period of Reconstruction is 1865 to 1877, so that is logically when the Civil War ends up until the end of, or the beginning of somebody's presidency whose name is escaping me right now. The president that is elected in 1870, at the end of Grant's presidency. So, Grant, and then I think Hayes is the one who is going to officially end it, though. So Hayes will be the one who officially ends Reconstruction. Alrighty. So, moving on. Let's get started here. First section of Chapter 15. Okay. So, Lincoln comes into the presidency in 1861. March of 1861, the states have seceded. You've got a Civil War that happens. This is the duration of his presidency. So the entire time, basically, Lincoln is president, we're at war. He will die a few weeks after the war is over. So, anyway, so he really has no guidance from the Constitution what to do if these states rebel. So he's going to offer up what we're going to call a 10% plan. So he says that you can be restored to the Union when 10% of your state's voters have sworn loyalty. That's really not that many, right? Confederate states are going to reject this plan. Congress is going to propose the Wade-Davis bill, which is going to require loyalty of a majority of adult white men, no rebels in government, and permanent disenfranchisement of Confederate leaders. Lincoln is going to pocket veto the Wade-Davis bill. And then he gets assassinated. So this is going to really cause some problems here on the political front. When he is assassinated, his vice president, Andrew Johnson, will come into the presidency. He is a self-styled common man. He's from Tennessee. And he's loyal to the Union during the war, despite the fact that his state is not. So he's going to offer amnesty to all Southerners who swore allegiance, except for the Confederate leaders. Provisional governors for the South, and he's going to ask for ratification of the 13th Amendment. Republicans in general do not like Johnson, and they're going to call him a traitor to the Union, basically making it too easy for the Southern states to rejoin. They're going to enact black codes in the South, imposing penalties against unemployed blacks and setting up efforts to take black children from parents and apprentice them to former slaveholders. He's going to ease the restrictions on ex-Confederates who want to re-enter politics. So he's going to start off kind of like Lincoln, but he's going to really kind of do his own thing. His heart is really with the South, is the unfortunate thing for the rest of the country. All right, so Congress is going to start putting some things into place. First one's going to be the Freedmen's Bureau. So you have a lot of anti-black violence increasing in the South under Johnson. March of 1865, the Freedmen's Bureau is established by Congress to assist former slaves, and it is given direct funding in early 1866. You get the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and you will have this one. This will essentially end up meaning nothing, but it is a start. The one that really means something is going to be the one that comes in about 100 years later. So anyway, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 is going to declare formerly enslaved people to be citizens and grant them equal protection and rights of contract with full access to courts. The bills are vetoed by Johnson. Congress is going to override the vetoes and pass both. Violence is going to increase. And these will really mean nothing until the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments get passed. Let's see. So, the 14th Amendment states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. The 1866 congressional elections are going to give Republicans a 3-to-1 majority. The radical Republicans are led by Senator Charles Sumner from Massachusetts. So, alrighty. Okay, so Andrew Johnson is our first president to get officially impeached. Radicals are going to pass strict stipulations for re-entry to the Union. So in August of 1867, Johnson is going to suspend the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, who's a radical, and he's going to replace him with Ulysses Grant. Grant is going to publicly criticize Johnson's decision because he doesn't think it's right, and he's going to resign so Stanton could resume his position. So there's going to be a political crisis, and it's going to end with Stanton barricading himself in the office, like physically barricading himself in his office. The House is going to introduce articles of impeachment against the president, and then you have an 11-week trial in the Senate, and the vote for impeachment is going to fail by 1 vote. So we have impeached a few presidents, but we have never actually removed them from office. You have the election of 1868. Grant is going to be viewed as a war hero because he is a war hero from the Civil War. And he's a political hero because of his dislike for Johnson and what he did, his policies. He wants reconciliation between the states, and he is going to easily win the election. Let's see, Republicans are going to produce the 15th Amendment. The federal government and the states can't deny the citizens voting rights on the basis of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. It, however, does not outlaw poll taxes or literacy tests, which will be used in northern and western states to keep immigrants and poor from the polls, and it will begin to be used in the southern states to keep black people from the polls as well. All right, this is a celebration that occurs in 1870 in Maryland, May of 1870, to mark the passage of the 15th Amendment, which forbids states from denying citizens the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. It still does not give women the right to vote. This is just going to be black people who are citizens. These are the people who are going to be gaining the right to vote here. You have a lot of participants in this parade. You have military people. You have well-dressed black people. And there's still a lot of optimism about Reconstruction. All right. So remember I told you the women's movement is going to kind of get off track once the Civil War starts, because it is going to really become largely the abolitionist movement. So there's going to be a lot of frustration within the women's movement when black men are granted suffrage or voting rights. Northern men are going to oppose suffrage for women. Equal Rights Association's convention revealed some of the women's frustration. This includes people like Elizabeth Cady Stanton. You will get the organization of the National Women's Suffrage Association, often called NASA, NWSA. Women's rights supporters are going to split over the issue of black male suffrage. You have Lucy Stone and Julia Ward Howe organizing the American Women's Suffrage Association to support Republican efforts for black men. Elizabeth Stanton and Susan B. Anthony create NASA to advocate for a suffrage amendment for women. Legal challenges to the Constitution rule that while women are citizens, they can still be denied suffrage by their states. The Wyoming Territory is going to grant women voting rights in 1869. There are actually a lot of western states and territories that grant women the right to vote prior to the 19th Amendment. A lot of this has to do with women are property owners in the West because they've lost their husbands. They are sole survivors of families and things like that. So they will have more of a say. Let's see. Fears that women would unsex themselves or abandon their families if they're allowed to vote are dispelled. And it really means that women's suffrage cannot be dismissed any longer, and it becomes a serious issue for national debate. However, keep in mind, this is in 1869, and it is still another almost 50 years before women's suffrage occurs. So, all right, so this is the end of section 1 here. So we will move on to section 2 in just a bit. So I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. Talk or see you soon. Bye.